Today in Free Field Training, we are taking a look at the Agilite K19 plate carrier. Agilite sent this out to me as a T&E sample, and I am going to be long-term, not just doing this review of it, looking at the features and specifications and how it's set up and how the K19 works, but also handing it off to a friend of mine who is on a SWAT team that is going to set it up the way he needs to set it up for hostage rescue situations. So that should be pretty interesting. We did that with the K15 plate carrier. We'll put a little link up there and down below if you're interested in how that project went last time. We're going to be doing the same type of thing with this. Agilite has a reputation for making very high quality and pretty innovative plate carriers and other nylon gear for the law enforcement and military communities. These are very popular in my local Chicagoland area with people that are going to be running just plates. This runs 10 by 12 plates front and back, but it's also modular, so you can use different sizes of plates with the K19, and that's very important for teams that are going to be buying large numbers of these things and using them for different size people. But also, if you're a very large guy or a very small person, you should be thinking about this and checking the specifications to see if the plates that you are going to need to use to get proper protection are going to fit in it. They also make side plate pockets for this, and you can get side plates for it that integrate fairly easily as well. I don't have examples of those here today, but we probably will for the video for my boy that's on the SWAT team, because he is most likely going to put those in. He's a very small guy, and he can turtle shell up pretty well with just front and side plates with very little gaps in his coverage. We're going to start with this setup the way I think a lot of people are going to spec it out, with the AMP3 on the back attached, the quick releases in place, and a triple mag pouch up front. The triple mag pouch that Agilite sent out with this is unique in a couple of different ways. One is, if you've ever used aluminum department issued mags with a triple mag pouch that has bungee retention, you know that sometimes they get caught up on the sharp edges of where the mags fold together and on their corners. This eliminates that problem with any types of mags you might have by putting a polymer stiffener all the way around and the tab around the stiffener. So there isn't anything that should cause this to catch up on your gear, which is pretty awesome. The front of it, of course, has 2 rows of MOLLE in front of every mag, but one way that this is different than most triple mag pouches for the front of a carrier is that there's loop side Velcro across the front of this. It gives you a little more area to be able to lock things onto the front, and also a little more area to be able to put identification if you want to. So if we've got mags here and we want to run our tourniquet up front, we can run our patch with the agency name and our primary designation, regardless of what that is, further down on the carrier. And I think that's a good option to keep available to us. Instead of stacking things out, we can have things stacked top and bottom and then still have room for our ID. A really good idea. This pouch attaches without the use of Velcro or snaps or anything else that's going to break. It just has slide through nylon webbing that allows you to take this on and off without breaking fingernails and pulling out the butter knife or any other silliness that we get from other carriers. You can see putting it on and taking it off is fairly easy. All you have to do is pull tight and slide through in order to get the stuff attached. Now, without this triple mag pouch on the front, as it comes from the factory, the entire front of this carrier, other than this one little strip of material here, is properly spec'd, laser cut MOLLE, and it is cut into loop side Velcro. And there's even multi-directional parts of it that allow you to attach clips that come with this carrier at various points in order to attach a kangaroo pouch if you're the type of person that wants to run that. It's a really smart, really slick setup that gives you lots of options beyond just MOLLE, and it gives you those options without having to get some sort of adapter to go from MOLLE to Velcro and Velcro to MOLLE and then turning directions of the MOLLE in order to attach things, which overall lowers the weight that you have to carry, even if it's just to buy a few ounces. I think it's a very smart design that more manufacturers should probably pick up on. Moving further back, we have the yoke system of this, which is a V. The shoulder straps here attach in with this heavy-duty piece of nylon that is not just stitched at the corner and then box stitched, it's stitched down all the way down the carrier to the mid portion on both sides. This means that the weight of all of your stuff isn't held up on one little stitching area that's going to come loose. If you end up going down and somebody has to grab a hold of you, or somebody's redirecting you from the team, they're grabbing a hold of your shoulder strap and yanking on it, or you're just picking your stuff up and putting it down, or this gets hung up on something and you're dangling by it, and all the other silly things that might happen to you out in the real world, these shoulder straps are not going to rip. And even if you somehow manage to pop this loose with some sort of horizontal motion, it doesn't destroy the carrier. You're still going to be able to use it for the rest of the day because that weight is distributed through box stitching and triple stitching all the way down this piece of nylon on both sides of the carrier, front and back. It's a very strong, very smart solution to the problem of quality control that lots of companies have with their shoulder strap attachment points. There is an admin pouch built into the front of this, which again lowers the amount of weight that you're going to be carrying around by having to add an admin pouch, and allows you to leave this front placket pretty open. And it is fairly large inside. You can see how far my hand is going down in here. It's almost 3/4 of the way into my watch. You can see my hand is all the way down into the triple mag pouch area. There's plenty of room in here to put electric chem lights or normal chem lights, a notepad, pens, paper, markers, whatever else you might need really quickly. Pack of gum, because we know that's actually what people are putting in their admin pouch up top when they're going to be sitting on a barricaded gunman for 12 hours. You always have to have a pack of gum in there. The shoulder and cummerbund attachments are both quick releases. There's a little arrow, you pull up and pull out, and the release comes off. And to put it back on, you line everything up and it clips back in. The shoulder straps actually come with a little loop inside the admin pouch that allows you on one or either side to get rid of the quick release. And that's probably what I would do, because I don't like having something that's slick and polymer up on top, and I don't like having a quick release up on my shoulders, but it's easy enough to get rid of the quick release and then switch over to just a ring on the shoulders, and I'll show you that right now. On the inside here, getting rid of the male end of the quick release is pretty simple, and you can see how that nylon that runs all the way down the front of the carrier also runs down the back, and here is how this quick release attaches. And that's the end of the male end. And you can see how strong this attachment point would be, especially if you're not playing with this Velcro all the time, which you won't be. Slide it down and Velcro all the way down. So you've got a good 5-6 inches of Velcro on the back of the carrier that's keeping this attached easily. And let's say you did manage to break this and you're going to replace it with something metal. Easy enough. Unvelcro, re-Velcro on. Same thing attaching it on here. We've got our shoulder straps that come off, a Velcro tab, and then off comes our female end of the quick release. Slide that on in and cinch it back down. And now there's Velcro, hook side Velcro on here that attaches to the loop side on the back of our arm. And we've got our wire and tube run that we Velcro back over. This holds your wires and tubes in place, which is really convenient for not everything becoming a big bundle of wires and tubes at the end of the day. And now we've got a slick shoulder. So you could run a slick shoulder on your dominant side and a quick release on your non-dominant side, or you could switch them both to slick shoulders if you want. Depending on your size, if you're a little girthier of a gentleman, you might find that the quick release sits high up enough on your shoulder that it doesn't really matter. If you're a skinnier guy, you may find that you want to run the slick sides because more of this is facing the front of your body. Depending on your body shape, everybody's a little different. The options are there and it doesn't cost you extra to implement either of them. Your side straps here we'll take a look at. Here's our quick release. They're identical on both sides. You've got an area of molle, and this is again properly spec molle, so this is stuff that you can actually use here on the side. There's adjustments that are designed to be able to be used while the carrier's on. So you can leave this a little loose if you're going to be using this all 4 seasons. Let's say it's going to stay in the trunk of the squad and you're going to have to tighten it. You leave these a little loose, and there's little retention Velcro on there to keep you from having straps flying all over the place like a 12-year-old with their first backpack on a hike. You grab a hold of them, cinch them up, and it gets tighter. And then to give yourself a little extra room, there's also a elastic portion with a limiter on it. So you get about 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch of stretch before it reaches the absolute limit of the stretch and you go back to nylon. So even if this 2 layers of elastic material wears out, you're still just back to the cummerbund that you would have in a normal carrier. A great option if you stress this. If you tighten this properly, you're not going to have a problem with not being able to breathe because your carrier is on too tight. A little bit of extra comfort, always good at the end of the day. The inside of this carrier is black, and I think it's black regardless of color. You've got their logo here on the inside, and the entire interior of this is a little bit of padding and some aero mesh inside liner. This is super good for when it is really hot out and you're going to have to wear this for 10, 12, 14, 16 hours, a couple of days, however long you're going to be out doing the thing you're doing that requires that you wear body armor. This liner is the same material. It runs all the way up the shoulder straps and to the front side of the carrier. So the entire area of the plate carrier that touches your body is going to be this aero mesh liner. And that's a huge help, especially when it's hot out. Flipping around to the back, you can see how your backpack, this is the AMP3, would attach. I want to go over this really quick because it's really cool. It is the same Velcro and polymer loop system that you use to keep the front panel on if you're going to go slick. It's the same thing that holds the majority of the weight of the pack on your back, and there's other attachment points on here. I didn't attach this on as securely as you possibly could. There's other clips that allow you to clip it onto the pack, but I wanted to show you something really cool about this setup is that down the middle of the pack is hook side Velcro, and this hook side Velcro mounts in to the loop side Velcro that is on the carrier. You'll note also the diagonal nylon in there and the fact that all of this is properly spec'd and material that you can use. So if you're not going to run the pack on it, this is what the back of the carrier looks like with your drag handle that no one ever uses a drag handle. And you've got Velcro even down the middle of this. So the pack, not only is it attached to the carrier, but also it's secure enough attached where it's not sloshing side to side. So when you're running with this thing on, it's going with the whole carrier as one piece instead of being a pack kind of loosely attached to the carrier that's sloshing around separately on your back, throwing you off balance, making it harder to run. So this is the carrier as you would get it without the attachments. You've got plenty of area up here in order to put your identification on, real high up by your neck, police or whatever agency or whatever else. There's lots of area back here. If you wanted to just run a hydration system, you could run just a hydration system. If you wanted to run a triple placket of flashbangs, you could run a triple placket of flashbangs. If you want to hook up some sort of system where you have just a med pouch on the back here that's loosely attached that somebody could rip off, you could do that too. There's lots of options available, and with these little G-hooks to adjust the side panels, it makes it easy enough without having to play with Velcro for half an hour to change the size of the carrier. So if you find that you're a skinny guy and this is way too much material, even with it all the way tight, you can run these G-hooks further and further in order to get to the point where you're going to be comfortable with the amount of side material that you have. And it does it pretty effortlessly, as you can see. Looking at the AMP3 that we have on the back here, on the outside is a pouch that almost everyone is going to use to shove their helmet in, so that way when they go to grab their armor, the helmet, the whole shebang is all in one place. This attaches again with G-hooks on the side. You won't have to unhook the G-hooks in order to get the helmet out. You can just loosen this and give yourself enough room to get that helmet out. And then once the helmet's out and you're wearing it, this is an awesome place to be able to store your rain gear. You can take your raincoat, have it folded up, slam it in there. If you know you're going to a call out where it's likely to get rainy, you don't have to use up space inside. You can have your helmet sitting in there, and then when it's nice out, you just grab this whole kit and go. If you know it's going to be rainy, you put your rain gear next to it, pull your helmet out, shove the rain gear in, hook it back up, and run out with it, and all your stuff stays in one spot. It's a really good idea being able to keep the helmet with your armor. Always highly recommended. One thing I don't hear a lot of people talking about is how this big pouch on the outside, let's say you're going to put shoes or rain gear or whatever else in here, it's wet and you're going to be walking because now it's starting to dry out. They've got mesh along the sides, so you're not creating a puddle of water in the bottom of this coming off of your helmet or your rain gear or whatever else that is then going to go into your equipment. Since the sides are mesh, if there's water pooling in here, it runs out the outside. The back of the AMP3 pack mimics the back of the carrier in several ways. It also mimics the front of the carrier. So you've got 2 spec laser cut moly into loop side Velcro on the top, and then another panel of it at the bottom. So if you wanted to use this area instead of for keeping your helmet, for keeping some sort of munitions in here, let's say you're going to put your 40 mic munitions in here, or your 37 millimeter munitions in here, you can put them down here and have them covered up so that people aren't seeing where they're at and what you're carrying around. If you want to keep other large items, you can keep them back here and still have areas where you can put maybe one wrap through these to attach them. So things that don't normally have a place on your vest. If you're going to be the less lethal person, you're going to keep a big Mark 9 canister of OC spray, you can put it in here, run one wrap through this, wrap it around it, and you've got something that's staying in place there. Also would be a great place to keep medical gear. Down here, if you want to have extra medical supplies, let's say they're going to use this in more of an austere environment where medics are not going to be immediately able to transport people out, and you wanted to have a larger med pouch, this would be a great place to put that. At the top here, we have another large admin area. You can see, again, about the same size as the front of the plate carrier. It goes about 3/4 the way up my watch, so my hand is all the way down to here. And you'll note there's area here so that you can still attach your primary identification at the top, but if you want to use this for other stuff, you can run it down here on the loop Velcro down the middle of the pack. So we're always able to ID the people on our team. You need IR patches or anything like that, you can keep them where people are going to be able to see them. This admin pouch, definitely big enough to put like a Write in the Rain pad or a notepad and some pens and pencils and markers and all of that type of thing. Moving deeper into the pack, you've got 2 natural stops here that allow you to look inside, to take this off and look inside the pack without everything spilling out. That's something that's kind of transferred over from the hiking and backpacking community that it's nice to see in the tactical market. So we've got natural stops here on the side, and if we've got items loosely rolling around in here, we can reach in and get those items out. You'll note that the entire front and back panel of this have more loop side Velcro in here, so any type of hook side placard we can put inside of this, whether we're using it on the back of the carrier or we're using the optional shoulder straps that come with this to use as a day pack. If we unclip these retention straps, we can move the zippers all the way down, and this is our view inside the pack. So it runs all the way to the bottom. There's a little clip in here. Let's say you want to keep your keys for after the op, and obviously you're not going to need them in a hurry, so you can put that all the way at the bottom. You can clip keys or anything else that you want to know where it's going to stay floating inside the pack. Attach them right there. There's a drain hole at the bottom. Again, very important. Something else from the hiking and backpacking community I'm glad to see makes it onto the tackle market. There is a single hole in the bottom, so we're not putting 2 of them across the bottom, creating more points that could rip. We've got only one in the middle, and it seems to be well grommeted in there where it's not going to be a problem for us. The inside of this is folded over and stitched, and there's a stiffening material to the pack. Not enough stiffening material where it would count as a frame, but enough stiffening material where this isn't just a big floppy mess when it's not mounted onto the carrier. At the top of the bag, you have a little strap on here for attaching a hydration pouch. They hide it inside in case you're not going to use it for the hydration pouch, but there's a little Velcro tab. And then there's a zipper pocket in here that if you're on a team that is going to be needing somebody to take notes, you could fit a full-size notebook in. But realistically, I think most people are going to use this for a water bladder, and this pack is definitely big enough to fit a large water bladder inside. You could run your water bladder in here, attach it onto this little Velcro loop, so that way it's not weeping all over all of your other gear. And then the tube from your water bladder comes out through the top of the AMP3 carrier, and then you can run that tube along either side where we've got our Velcro attachments and find a place up front to attach it to. Again, one of the great things about Agilite is that they think this stuff out in advance. They have actual people using it in the field, and it doesn't require you to buy a lot of extra stuff in order to make everything work. there aren't a bunch of extra attachments and silliness going on with these. In case you're interested, there is more actually properly spec'd MOLLE on the sides of these. So this is 3 rows on each side of the pack of actual usable MOLLE attachment space, which is awesome. And the handle that is most likely to be actually able to be used as a drag handle is the one on the back of the AMP3. If this is hooked on really well onto your carrier, you've got this massive drag handle on top, and it is box stitched on both sides pretty effectively. I think you would probably be able to drag somebody with this, although even then I would just rather grab a shoulder strap. At the top, on either side, are more access ports in case you're running radios and comms and all sorts of stuff. You got a big antenna sticking out of the top. You've got a Velcro panel with a huge access port that runs into the inside of the pack. And that's on both sides, so it doesn't matter which side you want to run the radio on. You're not stuck one side or the other. Most people, I don't think, are ever going to use these, but if you need them, it's a great option so you don't have to cut holes in things or leave zippers propped partially open in order to have radio comm wires and antennas and things sticking out of it. So that is the Agilite K19 plate carrier, the front placard, and the AMP3 all hooked up together, and some of the high notes of the features of it. It does come in a variety of colors. There is going to be a link and probably a coupon code down in the description if you're interested in saving a little money or buying this direct from the manufacturer so you don't get a knockoff. That's a pretty regular problem with nylon gear, if you know. I can highly recommend this after dealing with the K5 without even putting any use onto it, but of course, because it's free field training, we're going to put this into actual use in the field. I don't have an actual use for this out in the field. Unfortunately, my days of having to train for hostage rescues and going on call-outs at 3 o'clock in the morning with the SWAT team are long since over. If I have to deal with those types of situations, it's going to be with my patrol carrier, and I'm not going to have time to plate up. But I know people who will have time to plate up, who are going to put this through hell, and we're going to hand it off to them. And hopefully I get it back in maybe a month, and we can do another video like this one up here, where I show you the setup that he's using out on the SWAT team, and some things that you might not think about doing or using in the real world because you're not in the know. It's always nice to have some videos on free field training where you learn something about things other than the gear. If you're interested in that, stick around, make sure you subscribe and turn the bell notification on, give me a thumbs up and all that happy shenanigans. Until next week, you guys be safe and take care of each other. Hey, thanks for watching free field training on YouTube. And while you're here, why don't you check out some of these other goofy videos that I've made? Or you could subscribe or maybe go over to Patreon and see how you get your name put on the videos like these fine folks over here. All the links are, of course, down in the description. We'll see you guys next time.